Imagine standing on an empty, windswept beach in North Carolina. The sand is cold beneath your feet, the Atlantic Ocean roars nearby, and two brothers carefully push a strange wooden machine across the dunes. Nobody believes them. Nobody even imagines it's possible. But in just a few seconds, history is about to split into two eras, before flight, and after flight. This isn't just a story about a machine. It's about human stubbornness, unshakable dreams, and two bicycle makers from Ohio who dared to touch the sky. This is the story of the Wright Flyer of 1903, the very first airplane that truly flew. The father of planes. Part 1, The Dream of Flight. From the earliest days of human civilization, mankind looked up at the birds and wondered, what if we could fly? Ancient myths spoke of Icarus, who tried to fly with wax wings but fell. Leonardo da Vinci sketched flying machines centuries before engines even existed. Countless inventors tested gliders, balloons, and contraptions that crashed more often than they soared. But by the 19th century, science was advancing. Steam engines had transformed travel on land and sea. Balloons had floated into the sky. And gliders, crafted by pioneers like Otto Lilienthal in Germany, showed that controlled flight might actually be possible. Yet there was a missing piece. Everyone could glide, but no one could power their way into the air and stay there. The dream of a real airplane, something that could lift off under its own power, be controlled by a pilot, and land safely, remained unfulfilled. Until two brothers in Dayton, Ohio decided to take the challenge. Part 2, The Wright Brothers, Unlikely Heroes. Wilbur Wright and Orville Wright weren't scientists from elite universities. They weren't backed by governments or rich investors. They were simply bicycle mechanics, running a small shop in Dayton. But they had three things that would change history. Curiosity, they devoured every book, article, and experiment about flight. Practical skills, as mechanics, they could build, adjust, and experiment endlessly. Patience and determination, where others gave up after failure, the Wrights kept learning. They were inspired by Otto Lilienthal's tragic death in a glider accident in 1896. To them, it wasn't the end of the dream, it was a sign that someone had to continue the mission. They began building gliders of their own. From 1900 to 1902, they tested designs at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, chosen for its steady winds and soft sand, which provided a natural runway. These experiments taught them the real secret: control. Most inventors thought flying was only about lifting off. But the Wright brothers realized that without balance and steering, flight would always end in disaster. So they invented a revolutionary idea: wing warping, twisting the wings slightly to control roll, combined with a movable rudder to steer. This made their glider the first truly controllable aircraft. But there was still one final challenge: adding an engine. Part 3, Building the Wright Flyer, 1903. The Wright brothers needed something light yet powerful. No automobile engine was suitable. So they designed their own. Their mechanic, Charlie Taylor, built a 12-horsepower, four-cylinder gasoline engine that weighed just 180 pounds. This was revolutionary: small, light, and strong enough to turn the propellers. The Wright Flyer itself looked strange, almost fragile. Wingspan, 40 feet 4 inches. Length, 21 feet. Weight, about 605 pounds. Frame, spruce wood, covered with muslin fabric. Propellers. Two wooden propellers, driven by bicycle-like chains from the engine. Controls: wing warping for roll, elevator at the front for pitch, and rudder at the back for yaw. Unlike modern planes, the pilot didn't sit in a cockpit. He lay flat on his stomach on the lower wing, head forward, hands gripping a lever, and hips sliding side to side in a cradle to control the wing warping. It was uncomfortable, dangerous, and awkward, but it worked. Inside, there were no instruments, no gauges, no dials. Just wood, fabric, wire, and a dream. Part 4, The First Flight at Kitty Hawk. December 17, 1903. The winds were strong, perfect for testing. The brothers dragged their machine to the wooden launch rail they had built in the sand. A few locals watched, curious but skeptical. At 10:35 a.m., Orville Wright climbed into position. Wilbur steadied the wing. The engine roared, a metallic, rattling sound never before heard on this beach. The flyer shook, then rolled forward. For 12 seconds, history was rewritten. The Wright Flyer lifted into the air and flew 120 feet. It wasn't long, but it was controlled, powered, and real. Humanity had left the ground. They flew 3 more times that day. The longest flight, piloted by Wilbur, lasted 59 seconds and covered 852 feet. Then, a gust of wind flipped the flyer and damaged it. But it didn't matter. The impossible had been achieved. Part 5, The World Reacts, or Doesn't. Surprisingly, the world didn't celebrate immediately. Newspapers barely reported it. Many scientists dismissed the Wrights' claims as exaggerated or impossible. After all, countless inventors had made bold promises before. But the Wright brothers didn't chase fame. They quietly improved their designs, building more advanced flyers in 1904 and 1905. By then, they were flying for over 30 minutes at a time, performing circles, figure eights, and landings. Finally, the world began to notice. By 1908, they were invited to demonstrate in France and the United States. Crowds gasped as the brothers soared over fields, turning and maneuvering like birds. Overnight, the Wrights went from obscure bicycle makers to international legends. Part 6, Early Military Use. When the Wright Flyer first flew in 1903, it wasn't designed for war. It was fragile, slow, and carried only one person. But militaries around the world quickly realized the potential. By 1909, the U.S. Army purchased the Wright Military Flyer, an improved design, making it the first official military airplane in history. Soon, planes were scouting battlefields, spotting enemy positions, and within a few years, during World War I, they were carrying weapons. The Wright Flyer itself never fought in a war. But it opened the door to an entirely new era of warfare, one where the skies became as important as the land and sea. Part 7, Legacy, the Father of Planes. The Wright Flyer may look primitive today, but its impact is unmatched. It proved powered flight was possible. It introduced 3-axis control, pitch, roll, yaw, still the foundation of all modern airplanes. It transformed transportation, warfare, science, and culture. Think about it, in 1903, the world's first flight lasted 12 seconds. Just 66 years later, in 1969, humans flew all the way to the moon. The entire modern aviation and space industry was born from that wooden craft on a windy beach. Today, the original Wright Flyer is displayed at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Millions of visitors stand before it in awe, realizing that this fragile-looking machine changed the destiny of humanity. Part 8, Inside the Flyer, a closer look. For those who love details, let's peek deeper into the machine itself. The Wright Flyer was essentially a flying laboratory. Engine and propulsion. Custom-built 12-horsepower engine. 2 wooden propellers, carefully carved and twisted for maximum efficiency. Chain drive system, like bicycles, transferring power. Controls. Forward elevator for nose-up/nose down movement, pitch. Wing warping cradle controlled by the pilot's hips for rolling left or right. Rear rudder linked with the wing warping to maintain balance in turns. Structure. Lightweight spruce wood frame. Muslin fabric stretched over wings. Bracing wires holding everything together. Pilot position. Flat on stomach to reduce drag. Face exposed to wind, with only goggles for protection. Simple lever and hip cradle as the control panel. It was both brilliant and dangerous. One mistake, one strong gust, and everything could collapse. Yet the Wrights trusted their creation, and themselves. Part 9, Beyond the Flyer, Revolution in the Skies. After the Flyer, the Wrights continued developing their designs, but soon the world caught up. European pioneers like Louis Blériot and Alberto Santos Dumont built faster, sleeker planes. Within a decade, airplanes became reliable machines. By World War I, 1914 to 1918, planes had machine guns, bombs, and reconnaissance roles. The skies became a battlefield. By World War II, massive bombers like the B-29 and fighters like the Spitfire ruled the air. But every single one of them, every jet, every bomber, every commercial airliner, traces its DNA back to the Wright Flyer of 1903. Part 10, Why the Wright Flyer Matters Today. Why should we still care about a fragile wooden plane from 1903? Because it reminds us of three eternal truths. Big dreams can come from small places. 2 bicycle mechanics changed the world. Failure is not the end. The Wrights crashed dozens of times, but each failure taught them something. Technology shapes destiny. The Wright Flyer was not just a machine, it was a gateway to a new age. Every time you step on a plane, hear the roar of a jet engine, or watch a rocket launch, you are witnessing the ripple of what began that December morning at Kitty Hawk. Closing scene, emotional ending. Picture it again, 2 brothers, a wooden craft, the ocean winds, and 12 seconds of shaky, miraculous flight. It didn't look like much. But it was everything. From that fragile frame of wood and fabric came the mighty wings of humanity. The Wright Flyer wasn't just the first airplane, it was the first step in our conquest of the skies. And that is why it will forever be remembered as the father of planes.